Hey y'all, it's Jamila from Buy Pink again, and I'm here with another tutorial. Today I did an almost full wrap, I guess, tumbler with my Cricut mud press. And I've been seeing a lot of videos where people are twisting every 30 seconds or every minute or whatever the case may be, and then you have to flip it to do the other side. But with the mug press, I'm pretty sure the only element that heats is the plate at the bottom. And traditionally, when people use convection ovens, they're not touching anything. So in theory, I was like, well, all I need is the heat and the pressure. So I decided to try out my theory. So to put my theory to the test, I went ahead and got printed out my design a little bit bigger than what I wanted to use. I used Cosmos ink to print my design in my sublimation printer. I will link everything below that I used here. And like I said, I printed the design a little bit bigger than what I needed. And then I also cut one side flush because I was going to attempt to have a seamless design on the cup, but unfortunately, I didn't use a seamless design to create it, if that makes sense. So I first took the side that I cut flush and laid it flat on my cup, and I rolled it as tight as I could. I left a little bit of overhang on the top and the bottom just to make sure that I got full coverage. And then I taped down the seam that was open here. I struggled a little bit with these gloves and trying to get this tape on here. Now once I got it all taped down, I slid it down into my shrink wrap sleeve, and I actually purchased these off of Etsy, and I'll also link those below. And the cup came in a box that I got, a sublimation kit box that I got, and I'll link that also. But anyway, so I slid it down in there and I used my heat gun to get it really nice and tight around my tumbler, so that the ink was touching the cup consistently. The thing that I would do different that I did not do here is I would put a little I wouldn't have so much overhang as far as the shrink wrap goes over the bottom. That shrink wrap melts against the heat plate. So if you do have the overhang, you just need to place a piece of parchment paper or something below. But use your heat gun to shrink the wrap around your mug or tumbler or whatever you're using until it is completely shrunk and tight. Initially, my plan was to just stick the tumbler down in there, thinking that the pressure from the shrink wrap and the heat would transfer the image for me. And I got a little nervous, so I grabbed something to that I thought would conduct heat evenly around the tumbler, and also is what I had. So I grabbed a Cricut Infusible Inks makeup bag, and I wrapped that around my tumbler, taped it a little bit, and it did. Although I need to fine tune this method a little bit, it did give what I needed to give. Like it filled out the tumbler so that it fit down in there. You do have to tape it around. It could have been a little bit thicker, but it worked for what I needed it to work for. Down how I wanted it, I just stuck it in there, and I kind of marked or looked to see where I had taped down my seam because I wanted to make sure that part stayed at the opening of the heat press to see what part was not enclosed in the mug press. Hopefully all of this makes sense and I'm not rambling too much. And this would possibly work with a piece of silicone also. I just wanted to use something that actually holds the heat and allows the heat to penetrate through to my design. So I put it in there and I let the mug press do its work. And then I came back and I pulled it out with, I used some oven mitts because my heat gloves are not here yet. But I pulled it out and then I flipped it. I used a hot pad to pull it out, and the only thing that I did was move my makeshift heat conductor down to the part that we are working on now. And you see me tapping here to see if it got hot. Again, testing my little theory. But I moved it down, I flipped it, and then I stuck it back in there and allowed the mug press to work again for the time that it allotted for these materials. I did also cut down a piece of butcher paper and put it down in there because when I pulled it out the first time, I could see the plastic had melted down onto the heat plate. Luckily, once my mug press dried, I was able to peel the plastic from the shrink wrap right off. So this last press is going to be the last step in creating our skinny tumbler. So once it comes out of there, you're going to peel away the shrink wrap. I peeled while it was dry, but you want to be very, 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 very careful because this is a metal cup. It is a stainless steel tumbler, and it is going to be very hot. So if you're not careful, then you could burn yourself. But I pulled everything off. It was still hot because I figured pulling that plastic or that shrink wrap off would be easier while it was warm. So I pulled everything off while it was warm. I even pulled the paper off while it was warm. But the way I did that was I pulled the tape off first and then removed the paper. By the time I got everything off, the cup had cooled enough for me to touch. And you see it worked. And we have a beautiful green cup for my bestie girl. I hope this video helped you guys. If so, hit the thumbs up for me. Make sure that you subscribe and turn on the little bell notification so that you can see when I post a new video. Thanks for watching.